Welcome and Happy New Year to everybody. I hope you've had a great Christmas break. It's great to be back after such a long time. I'm Louise Archer. I'm the founder and coach at Retrained Search, and we teach contingent recruiters how to secure and deliver their work on a retained basis. And I'm joined by my colleague, Jordan Taylor. Hey, Jordan.
Hi everyone, lovely to see you all again.
So today we are going to talk a bit about your clients, aren't we, Jordan?
We are, yeah, absolutely. And what's, I suppose, importantly, what's in it for the client? Why would the client work on a retained basis? It's interesting. I mean, if there's one thing, we were talking about this a few days ago, Lou, if there's one thing we know that we can be absolutely certain of, it's that for any salesperson, irrespective of what you're selling, for any salesperson to be successful, they first got to be absolutely confident in what the product is and why the product's so great. And as recruiters, kind of straightforward to know what's in it for us. Most people understand why they want to work on a retained basis as a recruiter. Where it gets a little more difficult sometimes is understanding what's in it for the client and why would the client work on a retained basis.
Yeah, I agree. And so what is in it for the client?
Lots of things. I mean, I think we just dive straight in. I mean, for me, a lot of it comes down to quality of service and subsequently results, but there's lots of things that plug into quality of service and why that happens. One of the first things that I noticed when I transitioned from contingent to retained is, in my experience of retained, I'm able to carry out a much more thorough brief with the client.
Yeah.
I'm able to take time and spend time with the customer, understanding what exactly is it they're looking for, what are the core functional competencies, the core behavioural competencies, what's the EP, what's the story. And the difference in that, Louise, was so stark from what I used to do on a contingent basis, where it was, great, thanks for thinking of me, tell me what you're looking for, what's the salary, I'll get you some CVs across.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, completely. I mean, you mentioned that the biggest thing there that does make a lot of difference in all of this is time, isn't it? You have the time because you're not in competition with so many other different agencies and constantly watching your back or having to spread your risk by working on 10 different other things. Because you know you're going to reach a result and that fee's yours, you can put the time in to do the job properly. I've found that once you've done a thorough brief and you've been able to take the time to do that and get to the bottom of the competencies, functioning behaviourally, I find that I'm then able to do a really proper research job. And I'm being a salesperson myself, I find that bit the hardest because it's really detail orientated and it's systematic and it's thorough. But I know that if I get that bit right at the front end, it'll pay me back in spades further down the line. So I'm always really careful about doing a thorough and systematic search. And the beauty of working on a retained basis is you can make sure that there's no stone been left unturned, can't you? You can really map the market properly and do your research.
Yeah, you're right. And actually, just to go back to the point about being a salesperson, and the bit that maybe is more, listen, I'm very similar to you, Lou, in that sense, that of the whole process, it's probably the bit that I find most frustrating and boring.
Yeah.
But again, talking about my experience moving from contingent to retained, I think I used to struggle with that more, even though it was probably less detailed when I was working contingently. I struggled doing it more because it wasn't even a guarantee. I'm doing all this stuff that I don't enjoy, and I might be wasting my time because I could find one candidate, I send it to the client tomorrow, and they're going to say, "Oh, but sorry, Jordan, but that other agency picked you to it. We've already seen that TV."
Yeah.
At least on a retained basis, I know that actually, as you say, if I do the proper job and I leave no stone unturned and I do a thorough and rigorous search, I'm going to be rewarded in 2-3 weeks' time.
With no doubt. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I also find, and we talked a bit about this before, about how it gives you the time to get the proposition right. You know, yes, you nail it down in the briefing, but when you start to talk to the talent pool and you start to understand what do they want from their career, you can shape the proposition a lot more carefully, because you've got the opportunity to do that, because you know you're going to get the fee from it.
Yeah, but also my relationships with clients enhance so much based on that point, because often that's something I found that clients struggle with. You know, building that EVP and positioning it is something they struggle with, often because they aren't provided with the intelligence to understand what does that mean to them.
Yeah.
When I started adding that value to the clients, my relationship with them elevated and my position elevated above 99% of the other recruiters I was competing with.
Absolutely agree. And the key thing here for me, which I'm able to do on a retained basis, is be completely transparent. So I don't need to hide who I'm talking to, what my workings look like. I can show my client exactly what I'm doing, who I've identified, who I've spoken to, what they've said, what their perception of my client is in the market, what their perception of an opportunity like this is, how they're operating in their current position. All of that can be totally transparent, which means it gives me control over the project.
Do you ask it? Do you ask at the front end, Lou, when you're working on these projects, what type of intelligence might be useful? Or
yeah, always. Like they're always surprised when you're asking in the briefing sessions, like, what kind of we're speaking to this talent pool anyway. What kind of intelligence do you want? Do you want to know how your competitors are structuring these departments? Do you want to know how they're compensating, what the bonus structures look like, what the benefits package? What do you want to know? We'll find it out for you. Like, it's kind of corporate espionage, basically. But why not? We're talking to them anyway. So they're always amazed with the stuff that you can bring.
To be clear, I did know the answer to that question. It was
teed me up nicely there.
Honestly, I should be next in line to interview.
No. What else, Jordan? What else is beneficial to the client? Like, what happens if you hit problems? Because you inevitably do, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, it comes off the back often of that intelligence, but it gives you the power to educate your customer, to inform them of challenges, often before you even encounter them. But actually not to go to them with a challenge but no solution.
Yeah.
Gives you the power to go to them with the challenge, but also to guide them through that challenge.
Yeah. Being transparent without it, like, well, you're not going to get this person for this amount of money. I remember always having to say that, but there's nothing to back it up.
Yeah.
There's no evidence. You can actually put the evidence in front of them. This is this person, this is what I spoke to, and this is what they're earning, and this is what you can put it all in front of them, because you're going to make a fee anyway. So you don't need to be mindful. You don't need to be careful about what you're sharing. I agree. And it gives you the opportunity.
I remember actually going through a period where I asked a lot of my customers. This was when I was going through that transition from contingent to retained. I would go to customers and I was targeting roles that were aged, right? That they'd maybe been working on for 2 or 3 months and not filled. And I asked every single one of them what was frustrating them most about the process. And if I'm honest, at the time, I thought they were going to say to me, well, that we've not filled it. And not one of them said we've not filled it. What they all said is that we've not filled it, but we don't know why.
Yeah.
We've got 6 agencies working on it. One's told us we're not paying enough. One's told us the salary's fine, but we're just in a wrong location.
Yeah.
And actually, we're in this position where we've not filled it, which is fine. That's just what it is. But we don't actually know what to do.
We don't know what to do about it.
How do we return? How do we fix the problem? We just want someone, Jordan, to tell us how to fix the problem.
Yeah. And not just on gut. They don't just want somebody saying, well, you need to make it remote. They need that information, particularly if they're changing salary. You're not paying enough, but they need enough evidence to be able to take to the board to change compensation structures. You can't do that if you're working on a no-win, no-fee basis. You can't justify spending the time on it. But when we work retained, of course, we can.
Yeah. But even that, right, Lou, it's not about we're not paying enough. It's then about, okay, so what do we need to pay?
Exactly. Yeah.
You're paying this and that's not enough. But if you pay this, you could attract this candidate and this candidate.
Yeah, nice.
It really is.
And then, I mean, there is loads of others, but ultimately, the main benefit for the client, all of those are brilliant and they're nice to have. But what do you see as the main benefit?
without a shadow of a doubt, the main benefit for customers is that it allows us as their partner to commit to working with them until we reach a result.
Yeah.
But not just any result.
Yeah.
Commit to working with them until we reach the best result available to them in the market at that time.
Yeah.
And we can prove that it's the best result available to them in the market at that time.
Yeah.
That's what they're buying.
Yeah, I completely agree. And that's what does it for me. That is where I see the benefits. The client sees the benefit when you're able to articulate it like that. And as a recruiter and as a contingent recruiter, hearing that helps me understand that it isn't just beneficial for me. It's beneficial for the client. That financial commitment enables me to do what I need to do to be able to make sure I can reach a result for my client. And that's it for them.
And actually, it's funny because I know this is about what's in it for the client. I think for a recruiter, that's what's in it for you too. Because just from a fulfillment perspective, I enjoyed my job so much more when I started solving proper challenges for customers.
Yeah,
anyone can fill that easy role where there's loads of candidates and you flick CVs to. But actually, the feeling of achievement that I got when filling a role, I thought I've solved a real problem there, and I don't think many other recruiters could have done that.
No, you can solve stuff that other people just can't solve.
Yeah,
can't you? You can. I mean, I always feel pretty invincible when I'm working on a retained basis because I know that no matter what happens, I can still make sure that we reach a result because my job isn't to find the perfect candidate. I'm not a magician. I'm not responsible for pulling a rabbit out of a hat here. I'm responsible for partnering with my client to work through a process that's rigorous and thorough and systematic, and to re-steer it with the evidence accordingly to get to, as you say, the best result that is available to us all in the market at this time. And you can't get that wrong.
No. And people ask us all the time, right? So many people say, how do I raise my fees? I'm working at 17 or 18% and I want to be up at 25%. That feeling of invincibility, that's how. Because trust me, if you feel that way, you're more than happy to go and say, you're paying me 25% for this. Because nobody else can do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I completely agree.
Are intertwined, aren't they? You know, when it benefits the customer, you'll find it benefits you and vice versa.
It's just, well, for me, it was life-changing. Probably for you too, Jordan, I think, and a lot of the people, the vast majority of people that do our program say exactly the same thing. So,
Lou, what do you think, considering me and you have had first-hand experience, right, of working in that way, and we found that everyone wins. As consultants, we win, the client wins, even the candidate wins when we work in that way. They even see a better experience. Why don't you think customers do more of it then? It's like their go-to is we revert to contingent.
Yeah.
To retain.
That's a great question. They just, I mean, this is our mission, right? This is like what we live and breathe for. But they don't know. They just do not know. They don't realize. First, two things. Firstly, they don't realize that they've got a problem that is an actual problem. They've accepted working on a no-win, no-fee basis with lots of agencies as just being, that's the recruitment, and it's a necessary evil. A lot of them hate agencies. A lot of them are scarred by that process, but they've accepted it. And almost all of them aren't aware that there's a solution.
Yeah.
And that's why our job is to explain to them that there is a different way. I mean, first of all, we need to learn that, right? I mean, I spent 13 years not knowing either. But once you've learned that there's a better way, well, in my opinion, a better way, and lots of other people's a different way, and you start explaining to clients that there's a different way, then they start realizing that things can change. And once you get them to try it, and that's how you started, wasn't it, Jordan?
Yeah. I mean, I found that the fight with customers to get them to work this way, I think people often wrongly assume that customers are against it, that
Yeah.
they don't want to work on a retained basis. And I found it's really not the case. The fight is just against often misconception.
Yes.
They misunderstand what it is.
Yeah.
How many times have we had the conversation with customers, all of us probably that are on this call, where we've mentioned the word retained and they've said, yeah, well, we do retain, but only for executive level roles.
Yeah, or we don't do retain, let me stop you there.
Yeah, and it doesn't come often from a bad place. They're not opposing us. It's just they don't understand.
Yeah.
And that's our job. Our job is to educate and to take them on a journey where they see we're not just looking for money up front. What we're looking to do is a proper job. And actually retained is just a mechanism that allows us to do that.
Yeah, exactly. We had, it reminds me of somebody we had do our course who was a head of talent acquisition. She was very experienced, 10 years experience, a head of talent acquisition for a big software firm, big internal TA team. And she had just joined one of the agencies that had been supplying her for many years. They'd been working on her for a while, and eventually she'd caved in and decided to join them. And at the beginning of the training, we always ask everybody, why do you want to do the program? What do you want to get from it? And she said, I'll be clear, I don't want to do it. And there's nothing that I can think of that I'd rather do less than learn how to sell retainers.
Great start.
I know, we were a bit worried because, well, Claire and I said maybe we should take her out of the course because it wasn't very conducive to a positive environment. But she'd just been told to do it by the director of the firm that she joined, and we gave her the benefit of the doubt. She got 2/3 of the way through the course and said, I'm really sorry. I owe you an apology. I have shut every single recruiter down that's walked through my door that's asked for a retainer. And it's because I didn't know what it was. Nobody has ever explained it to me like this. She's now a testimonial on our website. She's now 100% retained. She would never work in any other way. So if she didn't know, most clients don't. They just don't. And it's not that they're trying to be obtuse, is it, Jordan? They're not trying to be obstinate. They just, the strength of their misconception, or so a lot of them have had a bad experience, haven't they?
Well, actually, she was probably right. A
Yeah.
lot of recruiters that were coming and trying to sell it to her probably were just looking for money up front.
Yeah, they probably
they don't know any different. But actually, if you can be the one that does, the one that doesn't just want money up front, that wants to do a proper job, that wants to use that mechanism to provide an unbelievable level of service that delivers results.
Yeah.
That's where you build long-term partnerships.
Yeah, I agree. Have we got any questions? We are here for another 10 minutes. I'm happy to open the floor to anyone that wants to talk to us. Just pop any questions in the chat. Compensation is important. Yes, it is. It is very important. I guess the challenge when you're working on a contingent basis is taking the time to collect the live, accurate evidence of compensation. And as contingent recruiters, and certainly when I was a contingent recruiter, I was told, tell them they're not paying enough. Just be blunt and tell them, well, that's fine, but it doesn't help them do anything internally because they've got no evidence on which to base the decision.
Do you know what, Lou? We had a real life example of this on a search that we worked on, didn't we, 2 or 3 months ago?
Yeah.
And we got to the end of the search and the client told us which candidate they wanted to offer. And you know how the call went. Same way the call always goes, oh, that's a bit expensive and maybe we could offer a little bit less than that. And actually, I was able to be really, really forthright in my views on that by saying, if you don't offer this candidate X, they are not going to accept. And if they don't accept, here are your 5 or 10 other options. And to the pound, this is how much you need to pay each of them.
Yeah.
And it was that intelligence that allowed me to be so strong in the way I handled that and close it. So it's just absolutely critical. It's just best practice.
It's so hard to, I mean, finding one candidate on a contingent basis, never mind 5 alternatives when you retained it. puts you in a different position.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got some questions.
Yeah.
Oh, Ruella says, I can't recommend your course enough. Thanks, Ru. We love you. How can you make your current clients switch to retainers after so many years of contingency? Oof, that's a nice question.
It is. I mean, I think first that's a mindset thing, right? Often people believe the only reason they can or should sell retained is if the contingent model either hasn't delivered a result for the client in the past, or isn't delivering a result now, or you think it won't deliver a result on any given project. But actually, there is an opportunity to discuss retained solutions if it isn't working for you. And that's a big mindset shift, right? I mean, it's up to you, Lou. I can say how.
It depends. It depends. For me, it depends how you've got an opportunity to do it either way. If you're delivering, it depends whether you're delivering a great service or whether you're delivering a not very good service right now. If you're delivering a great service, they want you to carry on doing it. The problem is probably with you. It's difficult for you to justify keeping doing what you're doing when you're working at risk. And that's the conversation that needs to be had, because you're in the driving seat. They want what you're giving them, and in order to continue to give them what you're giving them, you're going to need some financial commitment from them, right? That's the conversation if you're delivering a good service. If you're not delivering a great service and they're pushing you and saying, but we need more CVs, we need more from you, then the problem is the model. And there's only so much I can do on a no-win, no-fee basis, because I'm having to balance the risk of working on 10 other different jobs, because you could be working with 10 different agencies. So I've only got a 1 in 10 chance of actually filling it. The commitment to me will enable me to solve the problem.
Yeah.
So the problem is either on your side or theirs, depending on whether you're delivering a great service or not. But it's possible to convert in both cases.
Actually, often I think the easiest ones to convert are the ones where you're not providing a great service.
Yeah, agree completely.
Like, you can justify why.
Yeah, exactly.
What you expect to get free.
Exactly. Most people convert those first, and then they go on to convert the ones where they're in a position of strength because their confidence grows. Yeah. Great question. Thank you.
Thomas has got a question. So Thomas asked do you start off on a contingent basis with the client and then progress to retained, or are you doing the retained model from the get-go?
Well, lots of people convert their existing clients. In fact, most people that do our course, I would say, win their first retainers from...
Right? I converted 3 of my existing clients.
Yeah, exactly. But once you know how to win retained work from scratch, you don't need to work contingently first.
Yep.
Simple.
Okay, Jordan, great name. Do you believe it is down to how you approach the conversation with the client, or ensuring that the relationship has been built in some way?
You don't need to have a relationship with them first to be able to win retained work from the beginning.
But I would say what there does need to be is there needs to be a challenge, or there needs to be pain with that customer. If that customer's working contingently and they're getting what they want when they need it, they're loving the experience of working contingently, it's unlikely they're going to retain you. But I mean, by all means, try. Right? By all means, try. I've been there. I've done it. Just don't say no, because why would they? Why should they change?
That makes sense. Yeah.
It's working so well for me.
Yeah, I completely agree. But there's no need for you to build a relationship and in a certain way. But I would say the way in which you sell the solution is more sophisticated. Let's look at how you sell a contingent service. Can I send you some CVs? Can I send you some CVs for free? It's not really a difficult product to sell, is it? You're not actually selling anything because they're not actually paying you for it. You're saying, can I put a shitload of time and work in something for nothing, please? But when you're asking for financial commitment before doing any work with them at all, especially when they don't have a clue who you are and they've never worked with you before, it's going to take more than give me some money and I'll go find some people for you.
I mean, the pain piece, again, to go back to that's what makes it so important, right? If you think about anything important in your life, yeah? I mean, if you were looking at what school to send your child to, and one of them came and said, well, I'll tell you what, we'll do it for free. We'll do it free. And if you're happy at the end, then you can pay us. And one came and said, this is what we do. This is how we do it. Here's some proof of us doing it this way. It works. And this is what it costs.
Yeah.
I'd be thinking, something that important, I'm not going to the free one.
Yeah, but the difference was they said that at the beginning. They said, this is what we do. This is how we do it. Here's some proof that it works. And that's what we need to do. That's what you need to do when you're positioning retained solutions. You need to give them the comfort around what it is we do, why we do it this way, what it looks like in detail, and evidence with reinforcing it.
Correct.
Thanks, Jordan. That was a good question. Miss Jordan White. Any more questions?
Yeah, Siddharth has asked, what would be the right way to split the success fee while working on a retained basis? Typically, Siddharth, in thirds. We would normally charge a third on commencement, a third on an agreed upon shortlist with the client, balance on placement. I think me and Louise are big believers in flexibility though as well, and trying to make it as easy as possible at times for the customer to step into what is a new way of working. The one part I would never flex on is the commencement fee, that third. Yeah. It needs to be at least a third. Other than that, they just don't have enough skin in the game.
And on fees, I've just seen a question, not sure who, but would you always
I've seen it. It's like swearing to us, isn't it? That makes
my God. No.
Question, by the way, we get this one a lot. We do.
Just don't ever make it cheaper. Never, ever. Maybe the same.
The same price.
Maybe the same in the first few instances. You'll soon grow in confidence, and you'll soon be, like Jordan says, you'll be like, right, that's 30%, or you can go find whatever you want from somewhere else. But don't start there. You're going to make it very hard for yourself.
Once you've done it, customers will pay 30%.
They will, yeah, they will. Yeah, they will. But no, never go less. Yeah. Never go less, and never take less than a third on commencement.
Yeah, agreed. Jeffrey, lawyers, real estate agents, auto dealers all want money up front. Retaining is not a bad word and can build value if presented properly. Yes. Jeffrey, couldn't have put it better myself. Nice. Absolutely agree, right? We had a member join us a few months back, and he'd been a senior leadership with some big sports brands around the globe. And normally when I speak to new members, they say, yeah, I've been in contingent recruitment and I want to move to retained, or I've done a bit of retained and I want to do more of it. He said, I've never recruited in my life before, but I'm starting a recruitment business. And he said, Jordan, I've worked with all the big Shrek firms. I've worked with the big search agencies. And I've started my business. This contingent stuff, why would anyone ever work that way? I said, well, exactly, right? Yeah. We're all programmed in recruitment and that's the norm. And then someone from outside comes in and says, this just doesn't make sense. Why would anybody do that?
Yeah.
So absolutely, Jeffrey, I agree.
So before we finish, and we're live every month, so tune into our next month. We'll be sharing it on our company LinkedIn page and on our personal pages too. We launched our first course 2.5 years ago. And since then, we've taught almost 1,000 recruiters how to transition to retained. And so many of them shout from the rooftops, as Ruella has been kind enough to do so too, about how different their whole world is now. We've learned so much in that time, so much from the people that have done the course, from the way they do things. We still execute searches ourselves, and so we've made it better, and we've launched, we're just about to launch version 2. So it's new, it's coming end of January. If you want to find out a bit more about it, jump onto our website and have a chat with us, book a call. It's dead easy to do so. And if you're interested, add yourself to the wait list, and you'll find out they're going to be limited seats. We're only able to work with a certain number of people at a time. So make sure that you join the wait list and put the date in your diary. In the meantime,
we upload to YouTube every week.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Jordan.
Sorry. Yeah, so subscribe to the channel. We upload new content every week. You'll get a feel for what we do, how we do it, and you'll learn a whole load in there too, hopefully.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for joining us. Lovely to talk to you, George, as always. Thank you, Charles, for hosting it.
Thanks, Charles.
Love everyone.
Speak to you soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye.